Hello. As a community college, we know that you are committed to strong student outcomes. That includes success in the classroom and beyond by helping your students develop lifelong skills that will take them well after their college experience into the workplace and into adulthood. What if you could enhance that experience by introducing them to the registered apprenticeship model? Where you can, let me explain to you a little bit about what this is and why it's beneficial for your students as well as your community college. The registered apprenticeship model is a time-tested model, work-based learning that allows for students to be able to get real-time experience theoretically in the classroom, complemented by competencies performed on the job, all the while being paid in an occupation tied to their degree track. It includes three separate components. The first is that theoretical component that I talked about. That includes coursework in the classroom tied to that occupational track. Then the student will go into the workplace with an industry partner and perform competencies in the form of on-the-job training. Typically, a registered apprenticeship program is a recommended 144 hours of what we call RSI, or related and supplemental instruction, complemented by 2,000 hours of on-the-job training, which is roughly the equivalent to full-time work. It also affords the student/apprentice the ability to secure a wage. It also includes a progressive wage scale where they can meet certain competencies and be eligible for increases throughout the life of their apprenticeship program. Let's talk a little bit about who's involved in registered apprenticeship. One of the reasons why registered apprenticeship is the industry gold standard for work-based learning is the consortium of partners that come together to help make it successful. Clearly, it starts with your academic institution. You can serve in a variety of different capacities, one of which is to simply deliver the curriculum tied to the registered apprenticeship program. The other is to actually serve as a program sponsor where you manage that program and have industry signatory partners who partner with you to allow for students to perform on-the-job training. And the other is to serve as a fiscal agent tied to funding and registered apprenticeship. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. The other, of course, is the employer, the critical industry partner who will allow for that student/apprentice to perform on-the-job training while they're in the registered apprenticeship program. We have two different governmental entities that oversee registered apprenticeship, one of which is us, the Division of Apprenticeship Standard for state registered apprenticeship programs. The other is the U.S. Department of Labor, which also sees registered apprenticeship programs on a national scale. The vast majority of our apprenticeship programs are duly registered with both the state and the federal government, and it's beneficial for a multitude of reasons, one of which is that our apprentices secure certifications from both the state and the federal government, as well as funding opportunities that could be available for program sponsors and other stakeholders by duly registering so that they can access both federal and state funding. Community-based organizations are increasingly becoming integral as a part of that ecosystem of our registered apprenticeship process. They really help to identify individuals who are coming from underserved populations, including veterans, women, minorities, people with disabilities, dislocated workers, and help to create a mechanism for them to have a viable career pathway and assistance as they go through the program. The other partners are increasingly, we're seeing apprenticeship sectoral and regional intermediaries. These are folks that manage the program, outreach, recruitment, assessment, back-end compliance, administrative oversight on behalf of other stakeholders, including our employers and local education agencies such as yourself. And then finally, perhaps one of the biggest and most important of the entire ecosystem of registered apprenticeship are the apprentices themselves. That would be your students who are actively participating and securing the required competencies in order to perform a mastery of the occupation. All of these different stakeholders, among others, come together to create the gold standard for work-based learning, which is registered apprenticeship. Many of you have robust internships and have strong industry engagement through the internship process. But did you know that registered apprenticeship far exceeds the benefits both from the apprentice perspective as well as the academic institution? On this slide, you can see the two distinct differences. The first, of course, is the notion that you're cultivating a talent pipeline through a registered apprenticeship program. That includes identifying potential candidates for suitability for particular occupational roles now and in the future, versus an internship, which gives a very abbreviated experience to a student. The next, of course, is the length of training. Registered apprenticeship programs range anywhere from 6 months upwards of 3 years, in particular in our new and innovative spaces, including in healthcare, IT, biotech, logistics, financial services, our public sector, many others. On average, internships range anywhere from a week upwards of 12 weeks. The compensation piece is particularly important, and I think is perhaps the most beneficial for apprentices/students, and that is that they are compensated. And they're not just compensated in many cases at minimum wage, but typically anywhere from 40 to 60% of the high-skilled worker wage. The internship process itself really denies opportunities for a lot of students who covet moving into these roles, but simply cannot afford to not work and be compensated, or work but be only compensated at a lower rate. This is where we offer something that really helps many individuals who, again, are interested in moving into a training opportunity, but can't afford an internship that's unpaid or a low wage compensation for a very abbreviated period of time. That's where registered apprenticeship is much stronger. Supportive partnerships include some of those partnerships I talked about, and they're really integral to ensuring the long-term success and to create strong outcomes, both for the student, but also for the other partners who are involved, including community colleges. In the case of internships, typically community colleges or other academic institutions are the only active partner, and thus not creating the strong outcomes like I talked about. Resulting in credentialing and completion of certification is very critical to students who are really looking to take portable credentials with them. And this happens when you are successful in a registered apprenticeship program. Remember, I talked about that dual registration. Successful completion of a registered apprenticeship program that's recognized by the U.S. Department of Labor, as well as the state of California, allows for that certification upon successful completion. College credits are also an important part of the registered apprenticeship model, in that many of our students not only secure credit for their coursework, but they oftentimes end and culminate in either a 2 or 4-year degree. And then funding opportunities are perhaps the single biggest distinction that benefits stakeholders that are involved, including community colleges, and that is the vast array of funding opportunities that are tied to registered apprenticeship, unlike internships. The benefits to academic institutions are far-reaching. As you can see on this slide, they really do lend to stronger outcomes. It includes providing opportunities and a route into sectors that students covet, into targeted occupational tracks. It demonstrates an investment in the community at large by creating those stronger linkages to industry. Industry engagement is a critical part of the success of community colleges. As we see enrollment fluctuating, this generation of folks are really looking for opportunities that culminate in good paying, high quality jobs. Strong linkages that come in the form of registered apprenticeship with a livable wage and outcomes that allow for individuals to move into those roles are something that students covet. And it makes the apprenticeship model being integrated into your college, making your college more attractive. Potential funding opportunities, I touched on that, the access to different dollars that are administered by the U.S. Department of Labor, the state of California. Philanthropic organizations also are increasingly becoming part of that funding ecosystem. The other advantage is having a strategic business advisor assigned to your program at the beginning, in the development stage, deployment, and beyond. This helps to create stronger, successful outcomes on the backside, not only for your academic institution and other partners, but also for the students themselves. The benefits to the employers have a far-reaching application as well. This is another selling point that as a community college, you can sell to employers that go beyond those internships that I talked about. That includes this notion of individuals moving into the workplace and having a sense of trust and confidence within that employer partner, because they know that the employer is investing in them. Thus, the employer is then inheriting a stronger, more highly skilled workforce, because you're taking that theoretical component and complementing it real time with on-the-job competencies. The diversity of thought and experience, really having our workplaces reflect the great diversity and population of our state, provides more access. The registered apprenticeship model by itself lends to creating more diversity and equity. Employers want it, academic partners want it, and I know that populations throughout our state are looking for those opportunities. The access, again, to federal and state funding dollars, increasing operational efficiencies that allow for reduction in turnover, and then that, of course, proven return on investment. For every dollar that an employer invests in registered apprenticeship, according to the U.S. Department of Labor, they see a return of almost $1.50. You may be asking yourselves, what types of employers, what types of industries, and what types of occupations are currently involved in registered apprenticeship in California and across the country? In our state alone, as you can see on the slide, is a snapshot of some of our industry partners. As industries look to build their 21st century workforce to meet the demands of a global market economy and compete for talent on the global stage, they're really looking for opportunities to integrate recruitment tools that will help them attract, train, and retain talent. All of those folks that you see on this slide, these are industry partners, have really doubled down on registered apprenticeship. They are slowly but surely moving away from the internship structure. They have developed registered apprenticeship programs in roles that range from information technology, from the front end, which is help desk, to the back end or higher, more sophisticated roles like cybersecurity, to healthcare roles that include registered nursing, rad tech, medical assisting, community health workers, up to business services. We have programs that are in logistics, mechatronics, really jobs for the future. There is no occupation that is not apprenticeable. We can take any occupation and put it in a registered apprenticeship model to allow for an employer and an academic institution to train and get that worker skilled so they can move into the workplace and be ready on day one. You may also be asking yourselves, what type of academic institutions are getting involved in registered apprenticeship? Again, here's a snapshot on the screen of some of our academic partners. Currently, to date, we have over 300 plus academic institutions participating in registered apprenticeship programs everywhere from the northern part of our state up in Humboldt County, all the way down to the Mexico border in San Diego County and all points in between. Come talk to us about how your academic institution can be part of this broader ecosystem of academic institutions, including community colleges who are getting involved. And then finally, we want to give you some food for thought to think about what you're doing to make your academic institution as attractive as possible. As I alluded to, we have a growing interest on the part of folks who are looking to be educated, to extend that to actually integrating it into a career pathway. How can you, as a community college, create stronger outcomes for your students? One of those ways is by developing a registered apprenticeship model. Come see us, talk to us, and we can talk about how we can develop something for your academic institution. Thank you.